Surprise! It's the other coach. It's good morning. This is your weekly update. Of course, I missed last week because I was in Switzerland, of all places. I had to go with my wife to Switzerland to hear her. She was speaking at some various really special events at the WEF, believe it or not. World Economic Forum. Geez, that was interesting. But I'll tell you one thing that's in Switzerland, hockey. So, as you know, I've worked with the Everett Silvertips. Our European scout, Sandra Benin, is the assistant general manager of Umbria. And if you've ever followed the Spengler Cup, Umbria won the Spengler Cup this year. They got thumped the other night against, I think, Zurich. So there's teams in Zurich, ZSC Lions. There's teams HC Davos, Hockey Club Davos. Beautiful arena, not necessarily, it's a little bit smaller than NHL, but still like legit size. Not very big country and not very big cities, but man, they love hockey. They love their winter sports. I didn't get to go to anything. My timing didn't work out. I was going to go to the Umbria versus ZSC Lions, but unfortunately, there's a conflict with something my wife had planned, but I'm back now. And what is going on in the hockey world? Good morning. We got RJ Calabro. Thank you so much for joining. Good morning to Jan. It sounds like Jens finished his schools, your last test, so that was great. Good morning, Run with Kings. How are the LA Kings doing? We can take a look at that later. And Dan Asham, good morning to you and my friend, Enertap. I'm excited that you joined. And Vinny's here. We had a pretty good turnout this morning. That is exciting. And then brand new, don't worry, it is just getting started. So if you're still here, hang on. All right, so what is going on with the Red Wings? We can get to that in a second, and we can look around the league. However, have you followed this story with Bruce Boudreau? This was like the worst kept secret. There was so many weird things. If you were like a fan of the Maple Leafs, and this is one of the reasons the Maple Leaf brand is so weird. If you go back in time to Roger Neilsen, and he had Harold Ballard, the crazy owner of the Toronto Maple Leafs, before it became Stavros and before it became, this Maple Leaf conglomerate owned by Rogers and Bell. And who's the construction magnate? Is it Richard Petty? Is that his name? Maybe is that the race car driver? I think that's also the owner. I don't know. Wow. There was a time when we had Roger Neilsen was the coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Harold Ballard, the owner, he fired him, and then he wanted to come back, and he wanted to wear a paper bag on his head. Wear paper bags. This is not that bad, but pretty damn close. It seemed to be the worst kept secret in the NHL. And I'll tell you what, the fans were not happy. One thing about Bruce Boudreau is he is a wear your heart on your sleeve type of guy. He's an experienced NHL coach. He hasn't had great success in the playoffs, but I think some of that has to do with the Russian party machine. And he's always kind of like a player's coach in the sense that he's like, he lets them play like maybe he doesn't have a super structured style. And I think that really hurt Vancouver. They need some discipline there. They have a good lineup, man. They got a lot of players that are having career years. But they did some this is pretty classless. For a guy that's won 3 Stanley Cups and Jimmy Rutherford, what is going on, man? You made this a gong show. I don't know. And Rick Tocchet no offense to Rick Tocchet, but what has Rick Tocchet ever done? Like he's not a solution to anybody's problem. They did do him dirty. I think this was not great. And the fans reacted. And I don't know if I can play this, but on Twitter, I think I saw it. So I don't know how that counts. I think it's still Sportsnet. You can see, if you go to sportsnet.ca, you can see the fans were not happy. They showed some respect. They showed some respect for the coach, and they were chanting. What were they chanting? What was this chant? Bruce, there it is. That's what it was. They were chanting, Bruce, there it is. Listen, I don't think he's like the solution either. Like Bruce Boudreau, this was a weird pick from the beginning. I think they stuck with him. This is pre-Rutherford, so now he gets his own coach, and his own coach is Rick Tocchet, which, no offense to Rick Tocchet, but I just don't know how this is going to change things. Is Rick Tocchet going to implement a better defensive system? Because they play a real wide open style, and it doesn't work, man. They got good players. I look at that roster and I go, man, I would love to have a roster like that. Peterson, Bo Horvat, you got JT Miller, you got like what's the little Connor Garland can score? Like, they got some players on this team. Brock Besser's not had a great year. I don't know how much of that is injury. The body language of Tocchet, Rutherford, and Alvin told all the press conference. So what did I didn't see this Tab. What happened on this? I'm not quite sure. However, I'm sure Tocchet's not happy with the way this went down. Like, this seemed like it was clumsy, but he's happy to have an NHL job, and that seems to be the jobs he gets. He gets jobs where he's just happy to be there and try to do something with less than ideal. But this might be the best lineup Rick Tocchet's ever had to work with. It's not junk. They got a great goalie in Thatcher Demko. His numbers should not be that bad, and I don't think it's his fault. I think when you have a poor defensive structure and everyone's not committed to playing a tough game in that sense, and you're just trying to outscore the opposition, that's a mess. Like, this doesn't do Quinn Hughes any. Like, Quinn Hughes is Tyson Barrie at this point. Tell me I'm wrong. That's not what needed to happen with this young D. So I just think this is a mess. Copy being taught, yes, that was not great. And I think that's why, people are saying, oh, he's going to go to Vegas. I'm like, I would not put him as a coach in Vegas. This is just going to be a mess. They were hoping Boudreau would quit. Well, that's despicable. I'm like, what, are you broke? You're not broke. This guy did nothing wrong. Good for him waiting it out. That is like amateur hour. What the hell is going on there? Well, that is what it is. So now we'll see what Rick Tocchet has to do with this. I do want to take a quick look before I go on. Like, if you look at this team, do I think it should be better? You go Quinn Hughes. Let's look at Quinn Hughes. And I'm just going to share my screen for 1 second here. Bear with me, dear friends. Let's see. I want to show the correct. Ooh, I got a lot of browsers open here. There we go. So if you look at Quinn Hughes' stats, these are good offensive numbers. He's shown he can be a plus. I mean, this is elite, right? For sure. And he's played a game here. He's not a great shooter, but he's going to get his goals. Like, if he gets this and look at all those assists, like, that's great. This is a highly, highly talented player. And you know what's crazy? He is a +5 on a minus team. So credit to Quinn Hughes. Look at Peterson's numbers. Like, these are great numbers, right? But this stuff is the stuff that kills you. Besser -14, JT Miller. This is kind of telling you what's going on in the middle of the lineup. Do I think they're terrible in the middle of the lineup? I mean, listen, it's not perfect. I like this addition to Studichka. I just think he needs an opportunity. Tanner Pearson's that's kind of like a dead issue. Podkolzin, I guess, didn't work out this year. That's okay. So it's not a perfect lineup. This is where the problem is. And when you have consistently all of your goalies, and one of them is Thatcher Demko. Thatcher Demko is so you had injury problems. 3-10-2. This should not be the case. So I don't know what's going on there. Oh, get Noah Juleson will help you. I'm telling you. This is not a perfect lineup. Kuzmenko is excellent. Man, what a pickup that is. That's a great pickup. Makhayev's done what Makhayev does. Like, I didn't think he'd be able to maintain this. This kills you. Some of these veteran guys, a whole line that's minus, that's not going to help you. So I don't know. How much is that Boudreau and how much is how it's like structured? And maybe we've underestimated the injuries they've had. This is not a Bruce Boudreau issue, in my opinion. Well, so kudos to Bruce for toughing it out. Let him get paid. If it was a coach who wasn't a big name, this situation doesn't seem that bad. But this is Boudreau. I don't know why they would do that. It shouldn't be the way they do it with anyone. You should take a year off and work towards next year. I don't know if he'll get another NHL job, to be honest with you. But, he's got success. Good morning, RJ. Amazing how Tocchet skated around the issue of having to deal with OEL and JT Miller. Well, because he had both of them in Arizona. I don't see – he didn't have Miller in Arizona. What's the issue with JT Miller? Did he have him in Tampa? No. Where did he coach? Did he coach Miller? I mean, he's got a – I didn't watch this press conference, so I'm kind of guessing. Oh, my God. I got the Swiss flu. I think I would get some of that Swiss cough syrup. That would have been smart. I'm on the last of my Buckleys. Please, Canadians, send Buckleys. If you want to know, Buckley's here for me to order Buckley's. They don't distribute in the United States. Buckley's is a magic, right? Like, this stuff actually works. And Buckley's cough syrup and cough drops, $40 if I want to get it here. If you want to send me anything, I know you send Coach donations. Send me Buckley's, Canadians. Jesus. All right. Well, That is the story with that. I think he did the right thing, toughing it out, and that is that. Man, so we've missed some Red Wings updates here. They lose 2-1 to the Flyers. Maybe Miller is too much and paces himself. Is this wrong? It might be true. Like JT Miller last year was like everything, right? Like the captain, the superstar, major trade bait. So it's funny how the tune changes. He's had not a great year defensively. I liken this. Look at the Philadelphia Flyers, how they're playing. They're playing a John Tortorella style game. They are getting better. They're blocking shots. They're starting to implement a tougher defensive scenario. Ricola. Yeah, I can get Ricola here. I don't find that as effective, but it's not junk either. So you're right. I'll tell you about the food in Switzerland. It's very, very plain. It's very weird. I don't know how they cook it. It's not on a grill. It might be in an oven. I can't figure it out. Apparently, they don't have microwaves there either, which is good. But man, no seasoning on their food. I would say, oof, crazy. Swiss need to up their game. At least the German Swiss do. All right, so the Red Wings have not been killing it. They are falling in the standings as we kind of predicted. They've had some good moments and then some bad. They're very inconsistent. They need another goalie. That's kind of my analysis here. Is Thatcher Demko hurt, guys? Am I missing something? Why is he? I mean, I know he's 3-10-2. That's this is a weird situation because I think he's one of the top talented goalies that are out there. I just don't think they have a good scenario for him. Is he playing in the minors? Like, what's going on? Is he hurt? I'm trying to understand what's the Thatcher Demko situation. Is he hurt right now? I don't even know. Anyway, so back to the Red Wings. Is Miller's attitude? He's hated by Vancouver fans so much. But they loved him a year ago. What's going on? It was like, here's the heart and soul of the team. He should be captain. They need to re-sign him. They re-sign him. This is dirt. So I don't know what's going on. Demko out is a long time. That's not good. That doesn't help you because Spencer Martin ain't the answer. And they just don't have great goaltending. I mean, that's an obvious scenario. So that'll kill you. That'll absolutely kill you. Well, the Red Wings have one pretty good goalie. They have an even worse pick than the Wings. These types of comparisons are the small victories I've looked for regarding the Wings. The Wings have been up and down like a yo-yo brand. So brand new, it's been a little disappointing. I will say Lucas Raymond's season is going as I kind of predicted. So going to this game, Flyers are kind of around 500, and suddenly the Red Wings at one point early in the year were like battling for the tops, are 19, 18, and 8. So they're kind of about 500. That puts them 7th out of 9 in the wild card. Like, it's not good. But I think the Flyers are going on the upswing a little bit. And I what's hurting is the goals against again is creeping up for the Red Wings. So that's not good. Now 59% in the faceoff. Why does this always happen? When they win the faceoffs, they lose the game. I don't get it. It's just so strange. 0 for 1, 0 for 2, pretty disciplined game. 27 hits to 19. We know a lot of times the Red Wings are out hitting teams, but the Flyers, 31 block shots. Is this a John Tortorella team all of a sudden? Yes, it is. They have that little weird incident where the intolerance, in my opinion, towards Ivan Provorov, he made a stance, and I don't think it was that big of a deal, but they made it a big deal. Who's they? But if you read the comments on Twitter and a lot of the posts about this, the fans seem to be in support of, a diversity of opinions. And, Ivan Provorov's not a bad guy. Who do the Wings look to before the trade deadline? I don't know. What do they look to do? To me, I feel like Bertuzzi's going to be gone. He has been hurt a lot this year. He's also been really important to the team, and without him, they hurt. And without Verona, who they've kind of cut ties with, although Verona's heating up. Verona in the AHL, I think in the last 4 games, he got 3 goals. So he's kind of waking up a little bit. So hopefully he's going to shake it off and he'll come back, but he's not going to save this team. They needed those goals, though. Zadina's been a bust. Bertuzzi hasn't contributed anything because of the injury situation. I got to think that either, maybe he sees this as an opportunity to sign him for less. So he gets a show me deal of 1 year, because I don't know if Tyler Bertuzzi wants to leave. But if not, I think they could get a lot of, yeah, of course. Ivan Provorov said a pretty respectful thing, I thought. He goes, this is your opinion and this is your choice, and everyone can live their life how they choose, but I have my beliefs. And that was all he said. That's it. So I think that the team will probably rally around him. And I think this will be an interesting moment to see. I don't think this is going to tear that team apart. I think John Tortorella has taken this point to build a culture that he wants. And look at what's happening. 31 block shots, that's very unFlyers-like. 27 hits, that's very Flyers-like. The faceoffs he's not going to be happy with. But a win's a win here. Good morning, Lucky Luciano. I'm excited to have you join us. Thank you so much. Please hit the likes and share this. I know I was off for a week in Switzerland, and now I am back to kind of update you. We talked before about the Bruce Boudreau situation, Lucky. Please leave your comment on that, what you feel about that. So you look now in this game, and Lucas Raymond, I was looking my prior report about a week ago. We showed that Lucas Raymond's been playing pretty well. So you can see in this game, they were down 2-0. It went all the way to the third before there was a goal scored. This is a tight game. So that's not bad. And Scotty Laughton, really a John Tortorella type of guy. I've always liked Scotty Laughton. He's a stocky guy, good on faceoffs, can play wing, does what you want. Look at Kevin Hayes. So I liken the Kevin Hayes controversy where he sat Kevin Hayes. Maybe that's what you need to do in Vancouver, JT Miller. So you're not playing the way we want. You need to play with more pace. Maybe you need less ice time, JT. What is it? You can't do with all this extra ice time? I want you to play a higher energy game. I want you to be an impact player because JT Miller's got the talent. Look at Kevin Hayes. He sits in this kind of changes the way they've been playing. They've been improving. Noah Cates makes it 2-0, and then Lucas Raymond made it close with his 15th of the year. This is good news. If you look at his stats, and Kubelik's been getting assists, but maybe he's been playing pretty well lately. Sider's been playing better since they switched him up with Wallman. So these are good news things. However, interesting. Man, I don't know what's going on. What do you think of the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending situation? You got two guys that I think have potential to be real good, but I think it's not perfect, is it? We kind of knew that. So Lucas Raymond, maybe Murray's hurt, they would think, right? So we'll have to check on that. Lucas Raymond, 32 points in 45 games, 15 goals, 17 assists, 3 goals the last 5 games. You do want to see more assists from him. And prior to this, if you look at his scoring, he had the 2 back-to-back 3-point games. So in his last 10, I think he's had 10 points in 10 games. So that's good news for them. And that's kind of how I thought his season might go. Last year, he started off really, really good and then kind of lost steam. And I kind of figured he's learning how to play an 82-game schedule. And I think that's what it is. I think that's what it is with this guy. But we need more. We need more. I mean, you need a Verona, Bertuzzi. You need someone else get in there. Fabry's been able to contribute, but Fabry's not going to always be on the board. David Perron's not always going to be on the board offensively. So that's when you come to your captain. He has been Mr. Everything. I have said he in the past, if you followed any of my comments on him, I'm not sure if he's a number 1 center. However, then I looked at it really close. We know this guy needs to get a contract. So to Enertap's question, do they sign Bertuzzi? I think they definitely got to give. Probably, I'm guessing Dylan Larkin gets $9 million. I would think that's what he gets. And does he justify it? I mean, he's been a very good captain since they appointed him. He is the leading scorer, 41 points in 44 games. Nothing to sneeze at. That is pretty good. Kubalik hanging in there. We know he's kind of fallen off, but he's been picking it up lately. So that's a great pickup at $2.5 million. Is that what he's making? Is it 1.9 or 2.5? I have to check on Kubalik. I think he had 2 years at 2.5 or something. And don't look now. Lucas Raymond was in oblivion before, but now he's the 3rd leading scorer and climbing. Philip Hronek, we know, had a really hot streak. You got to make sure he's with the right pairing. You can't pair this guy with Sherrod. Everyone with Sherrod's dying. Bobrovsky's still out. Alex Lyon, that's weird. That's your 3rd or 4th string goalie there. So I think, overall, this is not terrible. And I think Perron's, kind of inconsistent offensively. In the end, he'll probably get 20, 25, 23, 27 goals. Seems to be his thing. I don't know who they target. I think we should look at that and see. It's a good question. The signing of Andrew Kopp has been okay so far, and I think this will get better over time. He's improved in the faceoff circle, which is good because his faceoffs were really, really bad, but that seems to have improved. 25 points in 45 games. You'd probably want some more goals in there. If he had like 8, 9 goals, you'd be probably pretty happy with this. And we're at Sider minus 13, but I think that if you look at his stats recently, that has been different. So then you get into this and you go, Larkin, tops in that category. Oops, this got cut off. Darn it. Let's just take a quick look at this, because this is what I wanted to look at was Dylan Larkin needs a contract. And the question is, do you sign Bertuzzi? I think that Yzerman might say, give me another year, Tyler Bertuzzi. You've been hurt. We haven't seen the best of you. 31 goals last year. We know he's had a prior 32-goal season. These are much stronger lineups. And you can see here now he's a plus. So this is an improvement. Like, his points per game has improved. He's still kind of on pace for 28 to 30 goals, so that's good. So if he's like kind of a 70 to 80 point player, which it kind of seems like he's settling into that. He's a 96 birth year. So what is that? He's 26. Larkin, is this an $8.5 to $9 million player? Probably right now. That is what I would say. You're not going to be able to replace this easily. We know we've got some guys down here that can improve over time, and this is good news. Like, I think overall, Rasmussen, you got to be happy with. Jonathan Berggren just getting his toes dipped into the NHL, just going to get better over time. I like watching Veleno. Soderblom has not done great in the AHL, by the way. I don't think he has any points in 6 games down there. Wallman's been a revelation. I mean, plus 14, he's a little gritty and tough, and he's really helped free up Seider. Sherratt, we know, has been not perfect. I think he needs to play number 5. So then you go down here, and this is what's really missing. Like, 1 goal in 15 games. We know the injury situation. This is kind of the pace you would expect from Robbie Fabry, which is great, really, if you stretch this over 82 games and he can actually play 82 games. So really, this is just a lineup that's going to fill out in the middle through maturation, maybe 1 or 2 pickups. These have not been bad additions. This has been a great addition. So overall, Zadina's a bust. That seems like he's still young, but I don't know. Nedeljkovic, by the way, doing well in the minors. So I don't know what that says. Hellberg is not a long-term solution here. And this, unfortunately, Ville Husso just being overplayed. So really, what do I think? I think they need a goalie. I think they need another goalie to really round this team out, and then that will solve a lot of problems. That's kind of what I feel. Well, see, I think if you sign Larkin, Bertuzzi can get 27 goals. He's done that multiple times, but the health is an issue. I think Lucas Raymond is showing he's a 60 to 70 point player, and eventually he'll be 80 to 90. That's what I think. And I think Berggren's going to be right up there with him. Berggren, like, what's the difference between Lucas Raymond and Berggren? Not much. They're both highly skilled, intelligent players with high skill level. Or sorry, I said high skill twice. That's because he's highly skilled. And I agree. 8 times 9 would make sense to me. Spencer Knight might be back for Florida. Bertuzzi again after surgery. Oof. Oh my God. This is not good. So I think that what they would do is they will sign him to a 1-year deal, keep him around, see if he gets healthy and can get back to his ideal form. Larkin is not excited. Well, he's really, really fast. And I think the problem with Larkin was he was always carrying the puck too much. And Lucas Raymond takes that burden off of him because you want the puck on Raymond's stick. Excellent playmaker, buys time and space, and then you get Larkin shooting more. And I think that's why he's scoring more, because he's not trying to carry the puck through 4 guys on the other team. Oh my God, I don't know. It would be wise because he would get picks. But is that where this team is at? Because I feel like at this point you would want a David Perron. He has been invaluable to this team. He's a great second-line player. Look at Ryan O'Reilly without him. It's been a big gap. They need a goalie. I think, Vinny, this is the answer. I don't know. Would you trade David Perron at this point? I feel like he's cheap and he gets good points. Zamir, is everyone tired of Sutter's disrespect and sarcasm for players? Nah. What? No. It's Daryl Sutter. He makes fun of people, but in the end, they know he cares. He wants to win. And Calgary, I think, has played better than I thought. Edmonton's been on a tear, so that's been good news. Vinny and Lucky, I hope you guys connect in the chat. So long-term, I think you sign Larkin to 8 times 9. I think that's a pretty good deal. Lucas Raymond solidified his part on that line, and I think Kubelik's shown he can play on that line, although he's been a little inconsistent. Perron makes a second line. Who's the second line center, though? Is it Andrew Kopp? I just don't see that. So I think that you've just got to be patient. You've got Marco Kasper maturing and playing in Sweden. I think in a year he could be a third-line guy that bumps up eventually to second. He looks really good. Rasmussen at times looks really, really good. So I think it's just time here. And you got Bergeron, who can play top 6 minutes. He is a really talented offensive player. And I don't know if he'll ever play center in the NHL. Was he disrespectful towards Pelche? I'm not sure what happened there. I'll have to look at that. Seems like you guys are in agreement. So maybe, I don't think the NHL is going to step in. Like Daryl Sutter is Daryl Sutter. That team has played. There's got to be accountability there. What did he say about Pelche? I'll have to check and look that up. So here we are, guys. 7th in the Eastern Conference. They ain't making the playoffs. And I kind of said this before. I see this as, it's interesting. 2 wins for Florida. That's interesting. But 163 goals against ain't going to get it done. Buffalo's got 2 more wins. That's another yo-yo team, man. Holy smokes. And maybe that's just a goaltending thing. Philadelphia might surprise us here. They got 34 games left. Can they win 17 of 34? Does that get them at least in contention for the wild card? It might. Because suddenly they're right in the race. They got 47 points, and you got 54, 56 ahead of them. I think Pittsburgh and Washington will just keep separating themselves. Florida looks like they're going to try. I don't believe Islanders are going to do it. Buffalo, I really thought would contend and grab that spot. Everyone else just seems like a bit of a mess in one way or the other. I'm kind of shocked at Florida, but I think they'll fall back down. Ernie, maybe, right? Like Ernie, I don't see, he does a lot of stuff. He's not like he's just a gritty, physically thick player. He can skate pretty decent. He'll get you some occasional points. Perron would make sense if all you care about is picks. But do they need picks at this point? They got William Wallander in the wings. They got Simon Edmondson in the wings. They got 2 twin towers there that can help bolster this defense long term. They got Marco Kasper, who is probably going to turn out to be the steal of the draft. Like, he's playing very well in Sweden. It's Sweden, I get it. But the Austrian center looks real good. Like, this might be a real good pickup for them. Maybe. So long term, I think you just be patient because I like the way Joe Veleno's maturing. I like the way Michael Rasmussen is maturing. We still don't have Elmer Soderblom. He's in the AHL, and you never know what will happen in Verona. So, what? He's a kid. This is his first NHL game. He's taking the pressure off of the guy. Like, what do you think of Pelche? If you know Daryl Sutter, I'll watch it. But I'm telling you that's Daryl Sutter taking the pressure off Pelche. It's like, that's not our focus, guys. We don't, this guy's just coming in to help. He's not going to be a key player for us. If he is, he'll earn it. And that's the way it's going to be in that room. And, the problem with Daryl Sutter is he might bury him on the third line for the rest of his career. That's just the way he does things. He's very, robotic a little bit. But that's, I think that's probably just him taking the pressure off Pelche and that saying, guys, we're focused on winning. And this is a young kid coming up from the AHL. You ain't going to, blow us up into the standings. Oh, Daryl. All right. The next matchup, San Jose Sharks. I don't think anything's an easy win in the NHL. The Sharks have Erik Karlsson. I think Erik Karlsson gets traded. What do you think? Has he put himself in a position where he's justifying his massive salary? And I think San Jose would be willing to eat 40 or 50% of that contract. If you've got Erik Karlsson, he's on pace for what is he on pace for 100 points? If you get an Erik Karlsson for 100 points and you can get him for $6-7 million a year, that's probably good, right? They would have to eat some money. Run with Kings. Come on. He's just taking the pressure off them. Leafs 5-1-1 versus Islanders since 2016. Yawn. The Leafs I don't believe in at all. Who knows what you're going to get there. So we know we've got this game coming up. It looks like Reimer versus Husso. This is what I'm saying. They need another goalie, guys. Sebastian Cossa ain't making the NHL anytime soon. What bothers me is that we saw the pain points with Cossa, and I think they're going to be patient with him and develop him. He's in the ECHL. He's kind of not doing amazing in the ECHL. He's sub 900 save percentage. That is a problem in my mind. I'm glad he's not back in junior because they need to start getting him ready for the AHL and then maybe eventually the NHL. But what I look at is a guy that's going to come around 24, 25 years old and be in the NHL. Maybe he takes a big leap all of a sudden. Well, the term, yeah, I can see that. But I could also see them doing a deal where it's like minimal salary. If you get 5-6 mil, maybe you do a 1-2 team bump where they eat 40-50% of that contract and you get a bunch of prospects. How many defensemen? It's like 7 or 8 years or something stupid. So let's look at, actually, that's a good thing. So let's look at cap friendly for a second. And let's just take a look at a couple of these deals. So to me, you go San Jose, San Jose's got to clean this up, right? And that's, I think, what Mike Greer started to do, because this was a lot worse. And you look at Erik Karlsson. So his contract's not that bad here, Tap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. The problem to me is the number. I think if you had him at 6-7 mil, you'd be happy. So if they eat 40% of that, that probably puts you right around there. And you look at, he seems healthy. And what's happening? The guy's got 62 points in 48 games. I mean, he could be considered logically for the Vezina. So to me, I think this could be a real valuable piece for someone. He's showing, hey, I'm no bum. I mean, even last year, 35 points in 50 games, we know is off his pace, but this has been going up. So these are good things. They've eaten. Look at how many years they've already eaten Enertab. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. This is 6th year in San Jose. Oof, what a disaster. Wouldn't you love if you're San Jose to still have Joe Pavelski? I mean, this is crazy town. So, I don't know. I think that he could be a valuable piece. He's 32 and injury prone. Sure. And healthy so far this year, though. 68 points. If he had 68 points in a whole year, you'd be very happy. So I think somebody would bite at this. I just don't know who. We'd have to take a look at that. That being said, 3-5-2 in their last 10, 3-6-1 in their last 10. The Red Wings, I don't know. I think the problem here was the structure of San Jose's defense. Vlasic is not the defenseman that he's being paid to be. You can't play Erik Karlsson with Brent Burns, and that's what they were doing all the time. Like, which horse goes? So you split them up. That's what should have happened. There should have been 2 pairs. You have wild card on both lines, and Burns fits in very well in Carolina, exactly. So I think you just put him with the right person, you're fine. This is like Seider with Sherratt. That just ain't going to work. And now you see Seider playing much better without Sherratt. Maybe. I think Eric Johnson might retire. So you look like 6 points his last 5 games. That's good news. I mean, I think you got some tradable pieces there. You got Bonino, you got Karlsson. If you're the Red Wings, 4 points, 5 games for Larkin. They just have an offensive outage here. So what happens, I'm not quite sure. If they go Reimer versus Husso, it's pretty even. Reimer, man, he's just so streaky, and he's not going to solve it. He had a great beginning of the year and didn't think that was going to maintain. He's up and down like a yo-yo. And they don't have great defensive structure. But that doesn't mean Erik Karlsson doesn't have trade value. I think if you package it right, he would have a lot of trade value right now. He's just said, hey, there's a reason you guys paid me all this money. I've just not been healthy. I'm healthy now. But he's so injury prone, Enertab. So if we take a look at this, and when we looked at the beginning of the month, we said, when they kind of got in here, they got slapped by New Jersey, but New Jersey's showing they're a top team still. They lost to Florida, and then they, lost to Toronto. The following week, they came back. They won this barn burner versus Winnipeg. That was a surprise. And then they beat Toronto. But I think they had Bertuzzi then too, right? I think so. But I think if you look at the games that Husso's playing, he's playing every game now, and that's not Husso. I think he's like a 45-game guy. He's got to have someone to spell him. 2 big wins. They lose the close one to Columbus. They lose badly to Colorado. They lose in the shootout to Arizona. They beat Vegas. Can you make sense of this? They're beating the better teams and losing to, so weird. They lost this close one now to Philly, so we're kind of heading into this. They won games. We said, this should be a winnable game versus Arizona. They got 8 points. They lost to Columbus, got no points in that game. That was a winnable game, but I didn't think they'd beat Winnipeg, and I didn't think they beat Toronto. I didn't really think they beat Colorado because I think Colorado's just going to get better and better. Hi, Danny. Beer. I don't know what beer. So we got Florida Panthers, New York Rangers, and that's at what, 6 p.m. 7 p.m. Eastern. Correct. Well, but Philly, again, Tap. Philly is turning this around. If you watch how they're playing a tougher game. Just having breakfast and come and hit the likes, appreciate that. So you're right. These are the games, but for them to beat Vegas, it was like, what the heck? So, maybe it evens out, right? You thought they would have beat Columbus, they beat Vegas instead. That's even. You think they would get only 1 point versus Arizona, but then they beat Winnipeg. So that's kind of evened out. You would have wanted to won that game. That was a close, tight game. And I think Philadelphia is getting better and better. They're playing a John Tortorella style game, and they're going to be very hard to play against the rest of the year. That's kind of what I believe. Now they got to beat San Jose. These are 3 winnable games. So ideally they're coming out with 2 out of 3 wins to finish the month. But that being said, this is not enough to put them in contention. This is not going to end well. You're probably, if you go back to the standings, they probably end up here, right? Like, I just don't see them catching the teams in front of them, and they're probably going to be around 6th, 7th, and that'll be the end of it. And then you look to, can I add another goalie? Is that in the offseason or now? What do you do with David Perron? Do you trade him? You got to sign Larkin, and you got to decide what you're doing with Bertuzzi. So there's some choices to be made. Keith's decision to go with Samsonov. Interesting. Well, when Samsonov's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. I love this Wallman story. He's been very good. Sherrod needs to move down to 5-6. I think you put Ali Mata with Ronick, and they're a little bit different, but they're kind of figuring this lineup out. 3-3-1 for Hellberg. That's not bad if you have a backup, but I don't think Husso is able to play 65 games or 60 games. He's got 31 games right now. He's on pace for, well, maybe 55 games, right? So that's kind of rough. And that is that, kids. It's 4 minutes before the hour. Let's just take a quick look. I think our friend RJ Calabro had posted the games here. Let me find them again. I'll post it up. Yeah, that's not good. 6 weeks lower body injury. That's bad news for them. He just can't get it together here. That is unfortunate. So Monday night, Toronto versus the Islanders, 7 p.m. Eastern. Florida versus Rangers, 7 p.m. That'll be interesting. 2-game winning streak for the Florida Panthers. I don't believe in them at all. Buffalo versus Dallas might be very interesting. Dallas is like an excellent, excellent team. Buffalo is up and down like a yo-yo, but they have won 2 games in a row. Lots of interesting stories on Buffalo. Goaltending is not one of them. Columbus versus Calgary. Calgary has done better. Josh Norris is out. That's really unfortunate. The other one was Max Pacioretty. So Max Pacioretty ruptures his Achilles again. That is bad, bad news, man. That is tough. I have lived with that injury for a very, very long time. The Achilles is very, very tough to come back from ever. It creates tightness all over your body. It affects your hips. It affects your knees. It affects the other side. And you see again, it ruptures. This is not good news. Yeah, that is bad. Whew. And then you got Cole Caulfield out. Is Slavkovsky out for the year too? I think I saw that, right? Ooh, that is a good question. Yeah, Patches may have to retire. This is not good. This is a tough friggin' injury to come back from. Because what they do is they chop the Achilles and they reattach it, and then you're basically trying to stretch out that tendon. And it creates a lot of tightness. And I feel like he's always been kind of that tight type of player, the way he skates, is part of the reason he probably had a rupture. Tough, man. How many 50-goal scorers this year? Well, I think it's worth taking a quick look, and then I'm going to wrap this up, guys. Two minutes here. 88 points for Connor McDavid. 73. Let's take a look at goals. You got to think Pasternak and McDavid might get 50. Tage Thompson, will he get 50? He could. I mean, it's very conceivable. Anyone in kind of that 30 range has an opportunity. I think Bo Horvat's numbers will now drop. Ovechkin, I bet you gets 50. Jack Hughes, man, 30 goals, guys. This is on 50 goal pace. You look at his numbers last year and this year, and he has matured into a 100-point player. And that's why New Jersey keeps winning. Jason Robertson could get 50. We might have, if I look realistically, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know, Mikko Rantanen, 32. Wow. 5, 6, 7 guys. So I think 5 out of those 7 will get 50. Isn't that crazy? That's pretty good. That's pretty exciting if you're an NHL fan. All right, Tage would be great. I think he'll do it. Tage Thompson makes a lot of sense, but he could also just miss it. Trevor Thompson? You think Tage Thompson? Tage Thompson, yeah. Tage. All right, kids, I want to thank you so much for joining. So just looking ahead, we know we have the San Jose game. That is on, what do we got? So Tuesday night, tomorrow night, Detroit versus San Jose. We will catch up with you on Wednesday, and we will recap how that game went, and then we will preview the game versus Montreal. There is a live tonight. I believe you said it was Florida versus the Rangers. Is that what you said? So that'll be good. And thank you, Hockey Nation fans, so much for joining. Please make sure you hit likes and subscribes. 12 likes. Thanks, guys. That's amazing. We are slowly building the morning show up. I will be back on Wednesday morning, and I look forward to seeing you guys maybe on one of the evening broadcasts. I hope everyone has a wonderful week, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.